Hello and welcome to this episode. Today we're looking at the whole situation around Amy Lou Wood from The White Lotus and that recent Saturday Night Live parody.
Right, yeah. The sketch, The White Potus, it featured Sarah Sherman doing an impression of Aimee Lou Wood's character, Chelsea.
And the big thing everyone seemed to notice was the exaggerated prosthetic teeth they used.
Exactly. That became sort of the focal point.
So what we really want to get into today is Amy Lou Wood's reaction, what she thought, the sketch itself, what was actually in it, and then the kind of bigger conversation that this all started.
Okay, yeah. Let's start with her immediate reaction. She went on her Instagram stories, didn't she?
She did. And she was pretty blunt about it.
Yeah, she called the SNL skit mean and unfunny gusto. Pretty direct.
That little uxo at the end is interesting too, but yeah, mean and unfunny. She also asked something about the comedy itself, didn't she? Like, couldn't there have been another way?
Right. She wondered if there was a cleverer, more nuanced, less cheap way to do the parody. Which is a fair question, I think.
It suggests maybe she wasn't against the idea of parody, but just how they went about it, the execution.
Exactly. That seems to be the core of it. It felt like the joke landed on something, well, superficial rather than being clever about the character or the show.
And interestingly, she later shared that she actually received apologies from SNL.
She did. Which, makes you wonder what the conversation was like internally over there. Maybe they realized it hadn't quite landed right.
Yeah, possibly. So let's dig into the sketch itself. The White Potus. It aired April 12th. What was the setup?
Well, it used that familiar White Lotus framework, rich people at a resort, but applied it to politics. So
Right.
you had SNL cast members playing figures like Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, Scarlett Johansson actually played Ivanka, and John Grease was Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
So a political satire using the White Lotus vibe.
Yeah.
Where did Amy Lou Wood's character Chelsea come into this? Who was she connected to?
Okay, so Sarah Sherman, playing Chelsea, was depicted as the girlfriend of an RFK Jr. character. John Hamm played him.
Ah, okay. So maybe drawing a parallel to Chelsea's relationship with her older boyfriend in the actual show.
Seems like it. And a big part of the interaction was the RFK Jr. character going on and on about fluoride in the water to Chelsea.
Right, and this is where the prosthetic teeth really came into play.
Yes, that was the key visual for Sherman's portrayal. Very exaggerated.
And wasn't there another bit, something about a monkey?
Yeah. After the fluoride talk, the sketch had Chelsea sort of dart off to kill and eat a monkey.
Wow. That's quite something.
Yeah.
So how did people react to just the Chelsea parts of the sketch? The teeth, the monkey bit.
A lot of viewers seem to find the focus on the teeth specifically, well, jarring. Kind of unnecessary.
Like it pulled focus from the political stuff.
Exactly. Some felt it just stopped the whole sketch dead for a gag that wasn't that funny or relevant to the main satire. Felt, tacked on almost.
Okay. And there were comments about how her character was portrayed intelligence-wise too, right?
Yes. In the sketch, when RFK Jr. mentions fluoride, Sherman's Chelsea asks, fluoride. What's that?
Hmm.
And some people pointed out, well, actually, in The White Lotus, Chelsea is shown to be pretty sharp, quite well read even. So making her seem clueless felt inaccurate, like they hadn't quite grasped the actual character.
Yeah, that's a classic parody pitfall, isn't it? If you caricature someone in a way that doesn't even match the source material, the joke can fall flat.
Definitely.
Now, all of this seems particularly sensitive because of Amy Lou Wood's own history with her teeth, which she's been really open about.
Absolutely. That's crucial context here. She has spoken very publicly about being bullied quite badly for her teeth when she was younger. It wasn't just like casual teasing.
Yeah, it sounded like it really affected her. But more recently, she seems to have really come to terms with it, even embraced her smile.
Totally. She shared this story about how orthodontists had analyzed her bite online from pictures and basically concluded she shouldn't change anything.
Wow.
And she called that a full circle moment for her.
Yeah.
Which is really powerful after feeling self-conscious for so long.
That's a great perspective. Turning something that caused pain into a point of acceptance, maybe even pride.
Mm-hmm. And she's even said she's happy if her natural teeth are seen as symbolizing rebellion and freedom against those really narrow Hollywood beauty standards.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it sounds like maybe the amount of attention on her teeth has become a bit much for her.
Exactly. That's the other side of it. She's mentioned feeling like a conversation focuses too much on her teeth, sometimes, overshadowing her actual work as an actress.
Understandable. You want to be known for your craft, not just one physical feature.
Right. And she also made a point to clarify things about HBO, didn't she?
Oh, yeah. What was that?
She wanted people to know that HBO has always been really kind and supportive, and they never called her ugly or anything like that. She said her earlier comments about feeling ugly were her own paranoid thought, her own insecurity, not something the network imposed on her.
Got it. So she was working through her own stuff, which makes the timing of the SNL sketch maybe feel even harsher, even if unintentional.
Yeah, potentially. And she'd also talked before about worrying her teeth might look goofy or like something she hadn't fixed.
That vulnerability she shared really adds context to why that specific parody might have stung.
Definitely. And she even mentioned on, I think it was the Jonathan Ross show, how surprised she was by the amount of attention her teeth got, especially from American audiences.
It's like this very normal, natural part of her became this huge discussion point. So given all that background, the bullying, her journey to acceptance, the focus overshadowing her work, what was the general vibe online after the SNL sketch aired and she responded?
Oh, the response online was overwhelmingly supportive of Aimee Lou Wood, like hugely.
People agreed with her assessment.
Yes. Lots of comments calling the SNL skit mean, unfunny, tasteless, a cheap shot. Those words came up a lot.
So a feeling that it crossed a line.
Definitely. Many felt it was particularly out of place in a sketch that was supposed to be political satire. You know, why suddenly pivot to making fun of an actress's appearance who isn't even involved in the politics being satirized?
Right. And people were also defending her actual teeth, weren't they? Saying they liked them.
Absolutely. Loads of comments praised her natural smile, called it refreshing compared to, the Hollywood standard of perfect veneers. So the parody felt like it was mocking something people actually admired as being real and individual.
Interesting. Did anyone suggest other jokes SNL could have made?
Yeah, some people felt SNL missed a trick, like with the RFK Jr. character talking about fluoride.
Right.
They could have made a sharper joke about his views on fluoride, which are quite well known and controversial, instead of just making it about her teeth or her supposed reaction.
So lean into the actual political angle more cleverly.
Exactly. While some debated if the joke was maybe meant to connect to fluoride, the consensus seemed to be that, visually and comedically, it landed mostly as a joke about her appearance.
And it wasn't just the teeth joke, right? There was something about the accent, too.
Correct. Aimee Lou Wood herself mentioned that in her story. She said something like, "At least get the accent right, seriously. I respect accuracy, even if it's mean."
Huh. So even in critique, she values accuracy. Fair enough.
It suggests, if you're going to parody me, at least do it well, do it accurately, maybe even wittily.
It sounds like her fans really had her back on this.
Oh, completely. People were encouraging her not to delete her Instagram story, saying speaking out was powerful.
Yeah.
And there were even calls for SNL to, invite her to host the show as a way to make amends.
Oh, interesting. That would be quite the turnaround. This also seemed to spark a wider discussion about SNL and its comedy in general.
It did. Someone pointed out a perceived hypocrisy, like SNL sometimes seems very careful not to offend in certain ways, but then resorts to jokes about physical appearance.
And there was a strong feeling that making fun of someone's natural looks is just different. Different from satirizing their actions, their choices, maybe even things they can change.
It does raise that perennial question about comedy. Where are the boundaries? What's fair game?
Exactly. And some people frame this as punching down.
Yeah.
Not just at a successful actress, but potentially mocking anyone who doesn't have, quote-unquote, perfect teeth, maybe for financial reasons or just by choice.
Right. And there were comparisons to older SNL humor, with some arguing that maybe standards, or at least audience sensitivities, have shifted.
Yeah, that definitely came up. What was considered acceptable comedy changes over time.
And wasn't there something ironic someone noticed within the same SNL episode?
Yes. Someone on Reddit pointed out that another sketch in that episode actually made fun of veneers.
Oh, wow.
So in one sketch, they're mocking veneers, and in another, they're mocking natural, less than perfect teeth. It sends a bit of a mixed message about appearance, doesn't it? It really does. It feels like this whole thing tapped into a much bigger conversation about beauty standards, really.
Absolutely. Beyond just SNL or Aimee Lou Wood, it highlighted that pressure, especially in Hollywood, to look a certain way, to conform.
And her whole journey with her teeth kind of stands against that pressure in a way.
Exactly. And the SNL parody, maybe unintentionally, just threw a spotlight right back onto that whole complex issue.
It also makes you think about the responsibility of comedy platforms, especially huge ones like SNL.
For sure. Is it okay to target someone's natural appearance? Especially if they've been bullied for it before. It's a tricky area.
And this really showed the power of social media too, didn't it? For her to respond directly and for that response to get so much traction.
Absolutely. Her initial post and the wave of support she got really shaped how this whole thing was discussed. It shows how individuals can push back now.
So wrapping it up then, Amy Lou clearly felt the SNL parody was mean and unfunny. Her reaction sparked this pretty big debate.
Yeah, it went beyond just that one sketch. It opened up this wider discussion about comedy, appearance, beauty standards, and maybe where the lines are or should be in 2024.
It definitely leaves you with something to think about. In worlds where we're hopefully becoming more aware of body image issues and these intense beauty pressures, what is the difference between sharp satire and just being unkind? How do big shows like SNL figure that out? It's a tough balance.
It really is. It makes you consider the ethics behind the laughs, I suppose. How media portrays people matters.